welcome back to Genesis Does. I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and today we are looking at Bad Omen, which you could also call Devilish Part 2. Now, this is a game concept only a Japanese developer could have dreamed up. A jealous demon turns a prince and princess into stone paddles, and then, out of nowhere, a mysterious blue orb appears, and the blue orb has the power to use the stone paddles to vanquish the demons of the kingdom and free the prince and princess. Now, Game Gear's Devilish was one of my favorite Game Gear games when I first started collecting for that system. I've had a loose cartridge of it for a long time, but I never knew there was a Mega Drive exclusive sequel to Devilish, and it is Bad Omen. And there is even a third game in the series, which I did not know about until doing the research for this video, which is called Devilish Ball Bounder, released on Nintendo DS. So I've got some legwork ahead of me. I need to track down a copy of this Mega Drive game as an import, which in 2020 is not the easiest thing to do because the price of importing games has gone up quite dramatically thanks to the fact that Japan Post no longer delivers to the United States. You can still use DHL, but it ends up being about $20 minimum, and most sellers have surcharges on top of that per each item that you buy. So when you buy, you really have to make it worth your while and get quite a lot of things. And I just haven't had any order that has justified that. But maybe this game will lead the way, especially if I can find a inexpensive complete in-box copy. One of the nice things about having the Analog Mega SG is that it is a region-free system. You can play Japanese games, North American games, European games, Mega Drive, Genesis, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Whatever you want to play, you can play it. And if you're a fan of ball and paddle games like Arkanoid and Breakout, then Devilish will fit right into that category for you, and you will have a lot of fun playing it. Ironically, my very first playthrough for this video was probably the best I did during this entire run, and subsequently after that, I lost the touch. I was never able to beat this demon, and my skills quickly deteriorated, which should be no reflection on the quality of Sage's creation, nor Hot B, nor the game itself. So there really isn't much to say about the playstyle other than you knock out the enemies and make progress. Every time you clear a certain area, it will scroll up to reveal the next area. And you have to get to a boss in each level that you have to take out with a sufficient number of hits to whatever vulnerable area it has. Your paddles don't do a whole lot other than move to intercept the blue orb, or occasionally you can rotate them by pressing buttons on your Genesis controller to configure them vertically to the left or to the right. But other than that, they are just paddles that bounce the ball around. I think in that way they are a little bit like Kirby's Block Ball on the Game Gear, in that in that game you had a standard set of paddles both on the top, bottom, left, and right, but the top and bottom moved together and the left and right moved together. But you could corner a hit by having them meet at an L shape, and then it would ricochet off both paddles at once. So in Devilish, or I should say in the Devilish series, you can do the same thing by rotating a paddle. But I find it more useful to just plow through with the top paddle and use the bottom paddle as my save, which I didn't do successfully there. Like I said, my first playthrough was probably the best. So my interest in this game is definitely not a reflection of the skill with which I am playing the game in this particular case. Here are some more facts about the game for those interested. The original Game Gear game came out at an unknown date in North America in 1991, in Japan on March 29th, in the European Union later in 1991, Then when it got ported to the Mega Drive and became the sequel, it came out in Japan April 24th, 1992. No US release date that I am aware of. The third game in the series, Ballbounder, was released in Japan April 28th, 2005, the European Union November 16th, 2005, and finally, after an extended period, came out in North America on May 9th, 2007. Now, what does the Devilish series have going for it besides the fact that it's an Arkanoid breakout block ball type game? Well, I would say the look and style for one thing. It leans heavily into the whole devils and demons aesthetic, with the monsters that you have to take out in each level looking like undead creatures or creatures spawned from hell. I suppose in that way, it would be comparable to something like Alien Crush and Devil Crush if you're playing pinball games on PC Engine or TurboGrafx. It is that kind of game where they use the look to build up the feel of what would otherwise be a game where you're just hitting targets and progressing from one screen to the next. I like the graveyard here. That's one of my favorite parts with these fire-breathing skeletons trying to block you, and if they hit the ball, they hold it in place, and you have to wait until they stop breathing the fire to be able to move further. The enemies don't really kill you. That's part of the charm, I guess, is that they're just there to hamper your progress, and if you hit them, you score extra points, but you don't have to. You can bypass them. The only thing that kills you is your own inability to save the ball before it goes off the screen. Or at least that's been my experience. If there's something that can actually destroy the blue orb, I don't know what it is. It seems to be invulnerable to anything other than your own incompetence. This boss fight actually reminds me of Sonic Spinball in the first stage, where you have to bounce the ball up into Dr. Eggman's tail and then ricochet it between his tail and his head until you land enough hits. And if I was better at this or having a better run at this, I might be able to pull that off. But I am not so inclined in this particular session. As I has previously noted, do not base your opinion of Devilish or Bad Omen or the Devilish series on how good or bad I do. At least on that attempt, I actually did enough damage to turn him a different color from the standard base color to a more damaged orange, but I still didn't win. So, Bad Omen. What is this game going to set you back if you want a copy on Mega Drive? I've already mentioned that importing is more expensive due to the pandemic these days, but let's just take a look anyway and find out if this is a expensive game or one that is somewhat reasonably priced if you want a copy for yourself. You can buy it complete in box for anywhere from 50 to 60 bucks. You can buy a less than perfect copy for 25 bucks, missing the manual. If you want a perfect copy, it can go for over 100. So it does seem to be on the more expensive side, which may be a recommendation to play it with an emulator, play it on your analog Mega SG, play it through the Mega EverDrive or the Mega EverDrive Pro, play it through the Terra Onion Sega CD, whatever the Terra Onion product is. I'm drawing a blank on my name of the product, but the one that came out before the Mega EverDrive Pro that was the first to play Sega CD games without a Sega CD drive. In fact, that just reminds me of something I wanted to say in general. Don't pick sides between Terra Onion and Crix. Let's be grateful that there are two companies that are both making products that allow you to play Sega CD games on a Genesis or a Genesis clone without the Sega CD itself, let alone the now very expensive and hard to find Sega CD games like Snatcher and Popful Mail. You will spend less on either the Mega EverDrive Pro or the Terra Onion Sega CD Genesis cart than you will on a single copy of either of those games, let alone both. So stop trying to make it a war between Crix and Terra Onion and just be happy that there are companies that are making these products that allow us to use our old consoles in new and unique ways. And each of them does different things anyway. The Mega EverDrive Pro doesn't have enhanced audio support. The Terra Onion one does, so if you want to play CD quality enhanced audio in Sega Genesis games, you're going to want the Terra Onion. If you want to spend a little less and not have that option, you can go with the Mega EverDrive Pro. But other than that, they basically do the same thing. Just a little bit of format difference between the bin and Q files that you put on one or the other. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching Bad Omen. I'll see you next time for another episode of Genesis Does every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern.